Most riders rely on instinct, but the ones who ride with total control, they understand the science behind every lean, brake, and throttle input. We're counting down the physics secrets that separate the nervous from the confident. Stick around until number 1. It's the habit that will save your life. Number 12. Wind resistance and rider aerodynamics. At first glance, wind may seem like a background detail, something you feel, not something you fight. But for anyone who has ever ridden a motorcycle at highway speeds for more than a few minutes, the truth hits hard and fast. Wind resistance is not just real, it is relentless. The force of air pushing against your body, your helmet, your gear, and your motorcycle frame increases exponentially with speed. And unlike many other forces acting on your bike, wind does not come and go. It is constant, invisible, and exhausting. At just 50 kilometers per hour, you begin to notice it. At 100 kilometers per hour, it begins to wear you down. And at 130 kilometers per hour or more, it becomes a wall you are pushing against with every muscle and breath. Wind resistance affects more than just comfort. It affects performance, fuel efficiency, and your ability to stay in control. The more upright your riding position, the more air hits your chest and shoulders, creating drag. This drag not only slows you down, but causes instability and fatigue. Over long distances, this constant force pulls at your arms, neck, and back, draining your energy and delaying your reactions. Riders who understand this adapt their posture, tuck slightly, and choose gear that works with the wind rather than against it. The shape of your helmet, the angle of your back, even the cut of your jacket, all of it plays a role in how efficiently you move through the air. Sport bike riders know this instinctively. By tucking in and leaning forward, they reduce wind resistance and slice through the air with far less effort. But you do not need to be on a racetrack to benefit. Even on a touring motorcycle, adjusting your posture, lowering your elbows, or removing bulky luggage can significantly reduce drag. But the wind is not the only invisible force affecting your motorcycle's behavior. Sometimes the smallest detail makes the biggest difference. Number 11. Tire contact patch. Your lifeline. Every time you ride, your entire life depends on something shockingly small, your tire contact patch. It is the only part of your motorcycle that ever touches the road. And despite the size of your tires, the actual surface area in contact with the pavement at any given moment is no bigger than the palm of your hand. In some cases, especially when leaned over, it is even smaller. That tiny patch of rubber carries the full load of your body, your motorcycle, your gear, and your momentum. It handles every ounce of acceleration, braking, turning, and balance. When you realize just how little rubber separates you from the asphalt, you start to treat your tires and that patch with newfound respect. Tire condition, pressure, temperature, and compound all determine how well that patch performs. If your tires are worn, improperly inflated, or made from the wrong compound for your riding conditions, you are giving up grip. And once traction is gone, control goes with it. That is why professional riders check tire pressure before every ride. It is not paranoia, it is precision. Even a few pounds per square inch too low or too high can dramatically alter the shape and effectiveness of your contact patch. Now consider what happens when you lean into a turn. The contact patch shifts from the center of the tire to the outer edge. This edge is narrower, curved, and has less surface area. The result: you are asking more of your tires while giving them less to work with. That is why aggressive cornering demands fresh, warm, well-maintained rubber. Cold tires, wet roads, or slick surfaces shrink the margin for error even more. And if you exceed the limits of that contact patch by braking too hard, leaning too far, or accelerating abruptly, you risk sliding out and crashing. That tiny patch of rubber is important, but it means nothing if your suspension is not working with it. If even one of these riding tips has made you think differently, smash that like and drop a comment with the lesson that hit hardest. It helps more riders than you think. Number 10. Suspension dynamics and handling. Suspension is one of the most misunderstood components of a motorcycle, yet it plays one of the most critical roles in how your machine rides, handles, and responds. Most riders think of suspension as something that simply absorbs bumps, and yes, it does that, but its true purpose runs much deeper. Your suspension is what keeps your tires firmly planted on the road. It controls how your motorcycle behaves under braking, accelerating, and turning. And when it is properly tuned, it can completely transform your confidence, your control, and your connection connection to the road. The suspension system on a modern motorcycle is composed of front forks and a rear shock absorber, both of which are designed to compress and rebound in response to the road surface and the forces acting on the bike. This movement, known as suspension travel, is carefully controlled by components like preload, compression damping, and rebound damping. Preload sets the baseline height of the suspension and determines how much it compresses under the rider's weight. Compression damping controls how fast the suspension compresses when it hits a bump, while rebound damping controls how quickly it returns to its normal position. When your suspension is too soft, the bike can dive under braking or feel loose in corners. It wallows through turns, shifts weight unpredictably, and loses that planted, stable feel. On the flip side, if your suspension is too stiff, it can skip over bumps instead of absorbing them, which reduces tire contact and overall grip. The result? A harsh ride that feels twitchy and unpredictable. Tuning your suspension to match your body weight, riding style, and road conditions is not just a racetrack thing, it's a street rider's secret weapon. Even a simple adjustment like setting the correct sag, which is how much the suspension compresses under your weight alone, can provide instant improvements in comfort, stability, and cornering precision. Now let us talk about the one concept most riders think they understand, but usually get completely wrong. Don't let bad gear hold you back. We put our trusted picks in the description. Take a look. Number 9. Counter steering. The real way to turn. It is one of the first things taught in any motorcycle safety course, and one of the last things most riders truly understand. It sounds backward, it feels strange at first, but it is the cornerstone of real motorcycle control. Counter steering. At speeds above around 20 kilometers per hour, turning your handlebars in the direction you want to go simply does not work the way most people think. If you want to go right, you actually need to push the right handlebar forward. If you want to go left, you push the left handlebar forward. This action, as counterintuitive as it may seem, is what causes the motorcycle to lean, and that lean is what causes the turn. When you push the handlebar, you create a brief moment where the front wheel points away from the direction you want to go. This initiates a lean in the opposite direction, which is exactly what the bike needs to start turning. It is not the handlebars doing the turning, it is the shift in balance, aided by the gyroscopic effect of the wheels. The front wheel resists sudden direction changes due to its spinning mass, and this resistance helps guide the motorcycle into a smooth, stable lean. Once you learn to use counter steering deliberately, it transforms your riding. Instead of muscling the bike through a corner or wobbling your way around a turn, you initiate clean, confident leans with just a gentle push. It becomes instinctive, intuitive, and powerful. You can swerve quickly to avoid obstacles, carve sharper lines through corners, and make high-speed lane changes with far more control. Riders who do not understand counter steering often oversteer, panic, or hesitate in tight situations, but those who do master it ride with a sense of calm authority. Once you master counter steering, you will feel the bike lean like it is reading your mind, which brings us to traction. Number 8. Traction budget. Spend it wisely. Every time you ride a motorcycle, you're managing an invisible currency, traction. It's your most valuable resource on two wheels, and it is always limited. No matter how good your tires are or how grippy the road may seem, there is only so much traction available at any given moment. Think of it like a budget. Braking, cornering, and accelerating all draw from the same limited account. Spend too much in one area, and you will run out in another. And when that happens, the consequences can be immediate and unforgiving. Imagine you are approaching a sharp turn at speed. You are braking hard to reduce your entry velocity while also leaning the bike to initiate the corner. At the same time, you may instinctively start to accelerate through the curve. That is 3 separate demands being placed on your tires, each one pulling from the same pool of available grip. If you ask too much, brake too aggressively while leaned over, or roll on the throttle before the bike is stabilized, you exceed the traction limit, and that's when the tires let go. High-performance riders know this instinctively. They manage traction with surgical precision, always aware of how much grip is being used and how much is left in reserve. They enter corners smoothly, brake in a straight line as much as possible, and only begin to accelerate once the bike starts to stand back up. Their throttle, brake, and steering inputs are deliberate, not abrupt. This smoothness is not just about style, it's about survival. You do not need to be on a racetrack to manage your traction budget wisely. Even on a casual ride through the city or on a twisty back road, the same principles apply. Pay attention to road conditions. cold pavement, loose gravel, wet paint lines, these can all reduce available grip. Adjust your speed, your lean angle, and your inputs accordingly. And when traction runs out, it is usually because one critical element was overlooked. Number 7. Weight transfer, the silent balance breaker. Weight transfer is one of those concepts that every rider experiences but few fully understand. It happens constantly, whether you're accelerating, braking, or turning, and it directly affects how much grip your tires have at any given moment. The problem is, weight transfer is subtle, silent, and easy to ignore until it catches you off guard and throws your whole balance out of whack. Let's break it down. When you roll on the throttle and accelerate, the motorcycle's weight shifts to the rear. This compresses the rear suspension, increases rear tire grip, and simultaneously reduces the load on the front wheel. That rearward transfer helps you drive forward out of corners with more traction, but only if it's smooth. Snap the throttle too hard and the rear tire might break loose, especially on a high-powered motorcycle or slick surface. Now flip the scenario. When you brake, weight shifts forward. The front suspension compresses, the front tire gains more grip, and the rear becomes lighter. That's great for stopping power, up to a point. But if you grab too much brake too quickly, especially while turning, the rear can lift or slide out. Worse, the sudden shift in geometry can overwhelm the front tire too, leading to a low-side crash. In corners, weight transfer becomes even more dynamic. If you're leaned over and suddenly accelerate or brake, you upset the balance that was keeping your tires in contact with the road. That's why experienced riders keep their inputs gradual. Smooth throttle roll-on, progressive braking, and controlled body movement all help manage these constant shifts in weight. The best riders use weight transfer to their advantage. They feel the motion of the bike and respond to it with fluidity, not panic. They know how to settle the suspension before demanding grip and how to load a tire for maximum traction when it matters most. Weight transfer is subtle, but when you get it wrong, the results can be violent, especially if you ignore this next skill. Number 6, throttle control. Smoothness equals safety. Your right hand is not just a tool for speed, it is the single most important control for maintaining balance, traction, and safety on a motorcycle. Throttle control is not about how fast you can go, it is about how precisely you can manage the delicate interaction between the engine, the tires, and the road. Every twist of the throttle affects the suspension, weight distribution, and tire grip. Get it right, and the bike feels planted, fluid, and confident. Get it wrong, and you risk losing control in the blink of an eye. When you roll on the throttle, you shift weight rearward. This increases rear tire grip, settles the suspension, and allows for stable corner exits. But if you do it too abruptly, especially while leaned over in a turn, you can overwhelm the rear tire's traction. The tire may break loose, sending the bike into a slide. And if that sliding tire suddenly regains grip, you risk a high-side crash, a violent and dangerous ejection that happens faster than you can react. Many new riders make the mistake of being either too timid or too aggressive with the throttle. In fear, they might chop the throttle mid-corner, which causes weight to shift forward suddenly, upsetting the suspension and reducing rear grip. Others get overconfident and twist too hard while exiting a turn, especially on high-torque machines, leading to loss of rear-end control. In both cases, the problem is the same: lack of smoothness. Experienced riders develop a feel for how the bike reacts to throttle input. They roll on power gently and progressively as they exit corners. This maintains traction and keeps the suspension in a sweet spot, neither compressed nor unloaded. They avoid sudden changes and instead use the throttle like a dial, not a switch. But if you want a corner like a professional rider, you need one more skill, one that advanced riders swear by. Number 5, trail braking, the pro's secret weapon. Trail braking is a technique that separates skilled, confident riders from the rest. It is subtle, it is powerful, and when done correctly, it gives you an incredible level of control through corners. At its core, trail braking is the practice of carrying a small amount of front brake pressure into a turn, rather than completing all your braking before the corner begins. It is not about braking hard while leaned over, it is about finesse, balance, and precision. Here is how it works. As you approach a corner, you begin braking in a straight line, just like usual. But instead of releasing the front brake all at once before turning, you gently maintain some pressure on it as the bike begins to lean. This trailing of the brake into the corner does a few things. First, it keeps weight transferred to the front tire, which increases grip and improves steering response. Second, it compresses the front suspension slightly, lowering the bike's front end and steepening the steering geometry. That makes the motorcycle more responsive and allows you to tighten your line if needed. Trail braking also gives you more flexibility mid-corner. If you realize you are entering too fast, or if the turn tightens unexpectedly, you still have some braking control to adjust your line without upsetting the bike. It keeps the motorcycle more stable and connected to the road, something you cannot do if you are completely off the brakes. Now, this technique requires precision. Too much brake pressure while leaned over can overwhelm the front tire and cause a loss of grip. That is why trail braking must be practiced deliberately in controlled environments and with progressive pressure. You are not slamming on the brakes, you are feathering them gently, using them as a fine-tuning tool for balance and control. Now that you know how to enter a corner, let us talk about how to choose the perfect line through it. Number 4. Momentum and line selection. If there is one concept that separates truly skilled riders from average ones, it is momentum management. Momentum is not just about speed, it is about flow. It is the ability to maintain smooth, consistent motion through corners, curves, and transitions without over-relying on brakes or abrupt inputs. The goal is not to be the fastest, but to be the most fluid. And to do that, you must understand the art of line selection. Every corner has an ideal path, a line that allows you to preserve momentum, minimize lean angle, and maintain control. This path typically follows the racing principle of outside, inside, outside. You enter the turn from the outside edge of your lane, apex near the innermost point of the curve, and exit wide. This line gives you the longest possible radius, which reduces how sharply you need to lean the bike. And the less you lean, the more traction you preserve. Riders who fail to plan their lines often find themselves making mid-corner corrections, braking unexpectedly, or running wide on exit. These mistakes not only disrupt momentum, but also increase the chance of exceeding your traction limit. Tight, jerky lines force more aggressive lean angles and require more grip, both of which can be dangerous, especially in less than perfect road conditions. Line selection is not just a racing strategy, it is a safety habit. When you approach a corner with a plan, you can brake early, set up your turn, and roll on the throttle smoothly as you exit. Your ride becomes calmer, more predictable, and far less tiring. You are not reacting to the road, you are flowing with it. Momentum is your ally when you respect it. It allows the motorcycle's natural physics to work in your favor. Keep your input smooth, pick smart lines, and ride with intent. You will not only be faster, you will be safer, more efficient, and more connected to the road than ever before. Speaking of flow, there is one force that is quietly keeping you upright, and most riders barely notice it. Number 3. Gyroscopic effect. The stability you don't see. There is an invisible force working in your favor every time your wheels are spinning. The gyroscopic effect. It is not something you feel directly, like acceleration or wind resistance, but it is always there, quietly keeping you stable, upright, and in control. It is one of the reasons motorcycles stay balanced at speed and why riding slowly feels twitchy and difficult. The gyroscopic effect is a result of your wheels spinning. When a wheel spins, it creates angular momentum, a force that resists changes in direction. This means that once your wheels are turning fast enough, they naturally resist falling over or leaning abruptly. They want to stay upright, and that resistance to change gives your motorcycle incredible self-stabilizing characteristics. This is why a motorcycle feels wobbly at walking pace, but as soon as you get moving, usually above 20 kilometers per hour, it starts to balance itself. The faster your wheels spin, the more gyroscopic force they generate. This stability is especially helpful in corners, where the gyroscopic resistance of the front wheel smooths out the transition from upright to leaned over. It helps the bike lean predictably and come back upright with grace, not force. The gyroscopic effect also enhances your steering feel. When you initiate a turn with counter steering, that resistance you feel at the handlebars is not just friction, it is the gyroscopic force at work. It slows down abrupt changes, making the bike feel planted and composed even at high speeds. It is what gives a motorcycle that magical sensation of gliding through curves instead of fighting them. Understanding this effect deepens your trust in the machine. You are not balancing a motorcycle by sheer willpower. You are working with a system designed by physics to stay up and stay stable. But none of that matters if you are looking in the wrong place, because your body follows your eyes. Still here, that means you're not just a rider, you're a student of the craft. Subscribe now so you don't miss what's next. This isn't just content, it's a riding advantage. Number 2. Vision and target fixation. If there's one habit that instantly improves your riding, no matter your experience level, it's this: look where you want to go. It sounds simple, obvious even, but in reality it is one of the most overlooked and misunderstood aspects of motorcycle control. Where you look is where your bike goes. Literally, your eyes lead your head leads your shoulders, and your entire body follows that motion. This subconscious chain reaction directly influences your trajectory, your posture, and your reaction time. There's a term for what happens when riders lock their gaze onto something they fear: target fixation. When you focus on a pothole, a guardrail, or the edge of the road, your body unconsciously steers the motorcycle in that direction. Your hands follow your eyes, and your motorcycle obediently tracks the line your brain has fixated on. It's a common cause of crashes, especially for new or panicked riders who get stuck staring at a hazard instead of looking for the exit. The solution is not to just look around, it's to train yourself to always look through the corner, ahead to the road you want to take, not the obstacle you want to avoid. In tight turns, that means turning your head fully and locking your eyes on the corner exit. In emergency maneuvers, it means focusing on the path around the hazard, not the hazard itself. Even at slow speeds, like doing a U-turn or navigating a parking lot, looking where you want to go is the difference between staying balanced and putting a foot down. Professional riders develop razor-sharp visual habits. Their eyes are always scanning ahead, reading the road, anticipating curves, and adjusting their line before the bike even gets there. This foresight reduces surprise, increases stability, and enhances control. Your vision becomes your first form of steering and your most powerful one. And that brings us to the most powerful yet often ignored riding secret of them all. Number 1. Center of gravity and lean control. Every motorcycle, from the smallest street bike to the biggest touring machine, is designed to lean. And it is not your handlebars that make it turn. It is your body's position, your motorcycle's center of gravity, and how you work with both. Understanding this core principle is the key to true control. When mastered, it unlocks a fluid, confident riding style that makes every corner feel like second nature. Let's start with the basics. A motorcycle turns by leaning, not by steering the handlebars like a car, but by shifting its center of gravity. When you lean the bike to one side, gravity pulls it into a curved path. That's what makes it turn. The handlebars are just the beginning. They initiate the lean through countersteering, but it's your balance and body position that guide the rest of the turn. Your center of gravity, where the combined weight of you and the motorcycle is focused, plays a huge role in how the bike behaves. If you remain stiff, upright, or disconnected from the machine, your weight works against the bike's natural dynamics. But when you shift your upper body slightly into the turn, align your eyes with the exit, and stay relaxed, you help the motorcycle lean naturally, predictably, and safely. Lean angle is essential, but it's not about pushing limits. It's about control. When riders get nervous in turns, they often tense up, stay too upright, or chop the throttle. This throws off the balance, reduces traction, and forces the bike into a less stable posture. But when you trust the lean, keep the throttle smooth, and align your body with the corner, the motorcycle does what it was designed to do. Flow. Master your lean, trust your body's positioning, and you'll unlock the smooth, stable control that separates seasoned riders from the rest. This is where riding truly begins. You just leveled up your riding instinct, but some brands are falling apart and taking good riders down with them. The next video shows the names losing trust, relevance, and resale value fast. So if this changed how you ride, prove it. Drop a comment, hit like, and subscribe if you're done falling for brand hype.